Did it?
An executive order from President Trump directed the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Back here at home, the U.S. Supreme Court took up a major challenge to the Voting Rights Act.
To deprive me from my voice as a...
For months, officials have been arranging for the busing of tens of thousands.
December 2025 is turning into something America has never seen before in modern times. Ever since Donald Trump won the election again and stepped back into office, the whole country feels like it's been thrown into a wild political and social storm. And it's moving so fast, it's got the rest of the world dizzy. The news doesn't stop. New executive orders, new bans, new legal changes. Every few minutes, there's something else. And every single one carries Trump's big, bold, in-your-face style that everybody either loves or hates. But here's what really gives a lot of folks chills. This isn't just politics anymore. These things feel like pieces snapping into a much bigger picture. The exact picture the Bible talked about thousands of years ago. Matthew 24:6-8. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation. Those old words suddenly feel like they're coming alive right in front of us, like they're being played out on American soil under a president who's changing the country with every breath he takes. Even scarier, 7 huge things: court rulings, immigration crackdowns, mass deportations, humanitarian crises, racial tensions, all exploded at the same time in one single week, every one of them signed or started by Trump. This wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It feels like a chain reaction pulled by some unseen hand, straight into the path the Bible warned about for the last days. So the point of this video today isn't to scare anybody, it's to look at what's happening through the lens of Scripture and try to answer the question a lot of people are asking. Who exactly is Trump in these end times the prophets talked about all those centuries ago? So please stick around and don't miss a thing, because you might be the very person who puts the pieces together and sees the answer clearly. Now let's jump in and look at the 7 earth-shaking events that just happened and the one man behind every single one of them, Donald Trump. 1. The U.S. Supreme Court just openly backed racial discrimination when it stripped minority voters of color of their fair shot at representation. The 4th of December 2025. It looked like just another morning in Washington, but in one quick moment, the Supreme Court dropped a bombshell that shook American democracy to its core. In a strict 6-3 conservative vote, they overturned the lower court and brought back Texas's new election map, the one experts call racism drawn with legal ink. With one nod from the court, 4 districts where Black and Hispanic folks were the majority vanished like they never existed in Texas political history. And the Republican Party, under Trump, can now grab up to 30 out of 38 seats without winning a single extra vote. If you've been watching the news the last few days, you've probably felt it too. Everything is moving way too fast. What makes this so chilling isn't just the numbers, it's the bigger picture. A president back in power with a take-no-prisoners style that splits the country wide open. A Supreme Court tilted hard one way, and a ruling that redraws the whole balance of power in America. All the pieces fit together and leave the question nobody wants to say out loud. Is this the start of the time the Bible warned us about? Like in Matthew 24:7 and 10, where it says, "Nation will rise against nation, and they will hate one another and betray one another." Do you feel it in the air, this rising tide of division? The skeptics will say, come on, gerrymandering happens all the time. Both parties do it. Sure, but here's what's different this time. For the first time in modern history, a map that lower courts ruled was clearly racist just got the green light from the highest court in the land. This isn't sneaking around the rules anymore. This isn't just politics. This is the first time racial bias has been legalized out in the open. Some law professors put it plain and simple. This isn't politics anymore. This is raw power. And when power isn't held back by right and wrong, we're sliding straight into what the Apostle Paul called in 2 Timothy 3:1-5, terrible times when evil just keeps growing. The Bible said that in the last days, In Daniel 12:4, the wicked will keep on being wicked. Sounds old-fashioned, but when you look at what's happening right now, those words hit hard. Evil doesn't always come with guns and shouting. Sometimes it shows up neat and tidy on a legal document signed by people in black robes. And that quiet, polite look is what makes it even scarier. Do you feel that invisible push behind events like this? A sense that everything is speeding up, way past the normal pace of politics? Because if you do, you're not alone. A lot of us feel we're walking right into what Isaiah 5:20 talked about. They call evil good and good evil. This Texas ruling is just the first of 7 signs showing up all at once in Trump-era America. But it's already opened a cold door straight into the future. And as we keep going, each new sign will make the big question clearer. Are we watching politics, or are we watching prophecy come true? Stay with me, because we're only getting started. 2. The expanded travel ban now covers more than 30 countries, aimed straight at Muslims and people of color. After that shocking shooting in Washington, D.C., carried out by an Afghan refugee, the whole country was still reeling when the Trump White House dropped its toughest move yet. A ban that had started with 19 countries got stretched to over 30 in just a few days. Visas, refugee programs, green cards, everything got choked off overnight. Folks who'd been waiting in line for their shot at a new life suddenly found themselves hanging in midair. Millions of applications were frozen solid. Big airports turned into pure chaos. Families got ripped apart in heartbreak. People already on planes were told to turn around mid-flight. Immigration lawyers worked through the night, but couldn't do a thing against the total shutdown. It all happened so fast, so cold, it left the whole world stunned. Were you surprised? The Bible laid it out long before any of this happened. Matthew 24:7. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. This isn't just armies fighting. It's communities turning on each other. One race against another. Locals against newcomers. When a superpower starts putting up walls instead of opening doors, Scripture says a sign is taking shape. It doesn't stop there. Matthew 24:9-10 talks about hatred growing worse. TV arguments got meaner. Social media exploded with accusations. Bigotry. People calling immigrants an existential threat. Trump stood in the middle of the storm, didn't back down an inch, said it was all necessary to protect America from enemies you can't see. But that very line in the sand made the hate spike. Just like the prophecy said, a lot of folks pushed back. This is just national security. Fair enough, but look at it through God's word, and you see the bigger picture. 2 Timothy 3:3 says people will become without love, unforgiving, merciless. When the poor, the war-torn, a mother clutching her baby in desperation get turned away at the one door they thought was still open, that verse stops being theory. It's playing out right in front of us. Then comes the sharpest warning of all. Revelation 13:7. The beast is given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. When one government gets life and death power over who can move, who can stay, who gets to live at all across whole nations, that's exactly the kind of control the Bible described. Trump can say he's only trying to keep America safe. But behind that policy, there's a truth nobody can dodge. The narrow door is closing. Gates that once stood wide open for millions have turned cold, quiet, heavy as stone. And in the shadow of that order, a warning spoken thousands of years ago rings louder than ever. The door is closing, and the world has to ask itself, what time are we really living in? 3. Large-scale raids targeting undocumented immigrants in major U.S. cities. In the last days of 2025, right as America was getting ready for the holiday season, huge surprise raids broke out in New Orleans, Minneapolis, Houston, and a bunch of other big cities. Hundreds of people got picked up in just 48 hours. What really shook the whole country wasn't only the numbers, it was the mess. Even U.S. citizens were getting grabbed by mistake right on their own front porches. Somali, Vietnamese, and Haitian neighborhoods were living in pure panic. Doors stayed locked, kids didn't dare go to school. Imagine this. One knock on the door at 4 in the morning, and the whole block freezes solid. This kind of chaos didn't come out of nowhere. Matthew 10:21 and Micah 7:6 talk about how people will betray each other. Fathers will turn in their own kids, and kids will rise up against their parents. Those old words suddenly feel way too real when neighbors start reporting neighbors to the police, when old friends rat each other out just to stay safe, when whole communities have to live looking over their shoulders instead of trusting anybody. The world is changing color so fast that a lot of us are asking, is this the scene the Bible was talking about? Fear has settled over every immigrant neighborhood like a heavy fog. The slow rumble of police cruisers at night has families hugging each other, waiting for the worst. Some folks have lived here legally for 20 or 30 years, lost their papers, or got caught in some system glitch, and still got dragged out of their homes like criminals. And you know what hurts the most? Little kids watching their mom or dad get handcuffed right in front of them just weeks before Christmas. If somebody says, well, they broke the law, they deserve it, ask them this: what kind of law rips little children out of their mother's arms on a holy day? The Bible saw this cold-hearted spirit coming. 2 Timothy 3, verses 1 through 3, warns that in the last days, people will lack natural affection. When a country stops feeling anything for a crying child or for folks being treated like things, it's not just politics anymore. It's a sign we're walking deeper into the dark. Plenty of officials keep saying, we're just enforcing the law. But when raids happen before the sun's even up, when a mom cooking breakfast gets yanked away from the stove, when the very people who were supposed to be protected become the targets, that's not law. That's cruelty wearing a badge. Then comes the final warning, ringing out like something straight from heaven. Exodus 22, verses 21 to 23. The cry of the stranger has reached the ears of the Lord. In other words, even if the world looks the other way and the government pretends not to hear, every cry of the people being treated unjustly still makes it all the way to God's throne. And now, the big question hangs over all of us right this minute. While those cries are rising up to heaven, does humanity still have time to turn around before the last door slams shut for good? 4. America's refugee system completely shut down. Over 2 million people thrown into panic. Just when the country was still reeling from those 3 big shocks earlier this month, Donald Trump dropped another bombshell that basically yanked the plug on the world's biggest immigration and busiest asylum system overnight. One short announcement from the White House, and the aftershock rolled everywhere. USCIS stopped every single asylum decision, cut work permits from 5 years down to just 1 year, and ordered a full review of every case from the Biden years. 2 million human beings suddenly found themselves hanging in midair. Nobody knows what tomorrow looks like. You feel it, don't you? Something about this goes way beyond politics and policy. Every move Trump makes right now feels like a hard jerk on the whole world order, almost like those old prophecies echoing in modern times. Matthew 24:21-22. For then there will be great tribulation, and if those days had not been cut short, no one would be saved. Cut short, shortened, tightened up. It's all happening in the most literal way, right here on American soil. Inside the refugee centers, folks aren't sleeping anymore. Rumors spread like wildfire. They're going to send us back. Trump's closing every door. Nobody's getting saved. And that fear isn't crazy. Luke 21:26 already said it. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world. Right now, you can see that verse playing out on the faces of families waiting for a life or death answer in a foreign land. A lot of people say, the system had too many holes. It needed checking. Fair enough. But think about this. A mom who ran from gang violence in Mexico to keep her kids alive. A young woman who escaped terrorists in Somalia just to stay breathing. An Armenian fleeing genocide. And now all of them get lumped together under one big suspect label and left hanging forever? That's not law anymore. That's when plain human mercy gets locked up tight, exactly like the warnings about the last days. It gets even heavier when you remember the man signing these orders is Trump. Love him or hate him, everybody agrees. Everything he touches shakes the planet. And the wild part? The more controversy he stirs, the more he looks like that figure the Bible talked about. The one permitted to shake the nations. Not a religious prophet, just a sign, a marker, a living billboard for the season God said was coming long ago. And now that America's refugee door is slamming shut, there's really only one door still standing wide open. A door nobody on earth can close, and nobody can force their way through on their own terms. Heaven's door is still open, but the doors down here are slamming shut. Never has that old saying felt truer than right now. Because if even the country people used to call the last hope is closing up shop, then the biggest question of all is a lot closer than we think. How much time do we actually have left? 5. Trump suddenly ordered maximum water pumping for California farming, even though the ecosystems around it are slowly dying. California hadn't even recovered from the big drought yet when Trump's White House made a decision that left scientists and conservation folks stunned. In one short press conference, the federal government announced they were cranking up water deliveries for agriculture by a full 35%, a level nobody had ever seen before. And Trump's line kept getting repeated all over the news. People are more important than fish. Sounds reasonable at first, but the truth is, millions of God's creatures are being pushed right to the edge of extinction. On the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, Chinook salmon numbers have dropped to the lowest ever recorded. White sturgeon, fish that have been around since ancient times, are standing at the brink. Researchers say the whole ecosystem is drying up and dying, but nobody in Washington wants to hear it. Trump's decision wasn't just policy. It was a direct blow to the balance God set in place from the very beginning. The Bible warned about this a long time ago. Isaiah 24:5. The earth is defiled by its people because they have broken the laws. When people push past nature's limits, nature pushes back. And right now, California's ground is cracking. Forests are burning more than ever. Rivers are drying up faster. Can you see it? It's like one big string of red warning lights flashing about the last days. A lot of folks defend Trump. Farmers have to make a living. We need food. That's true. But the bigger question is, do we want food or do we want life? When people choose crops over the life itself, the life God made, that's the clearest picture of the warning in 1 Timothy 6:10. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And it's no coincidence that right after the water got pumped harder, California's ground started shaking again with new faults. Sometimes nature roars without any human voice at all. That's a quiet but powerful warning. Revelation 6:8 and 11:18. Blood flowing up to the horses' bridles. The earth filled with wickedness against God. Not literal blood, but death. Death of rivers, oceans, animals, soil, the original gift of life. And when creation groans, it's not just an environmental problem. Romans 8:22. The whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. Those birth pains are happening right now. Here's the thing that hits hardest. Every move Trump makes these days feels like a hard push that speeds up the prophetic clock. He's not just changing laws, he's changing the rhythm of the world, and somehow making plain what the Bible said thousands of years ago. When the earth shakes, when rivers run dry, when animals cry out, it's not just the environment, it's the opening music for the Lord's return. And if we'll listen, we can hear the earth calling, groaning, warning, because everything is heading to a point, and that point is very close. The earth is groaning, and it's not by accident. 6. The electoral crisis. Open gerrymandering silences minority voices. The electoral crisis didn't happen quietly. It started as a tiny crack, but in just a few weeks under Trump's term, that crack turned into a giant fault line running straight through American democracy. Gerrymandering, something people used to call just politics as usual, is now done out in the open, bold as brass. They're redrawing voting maps like millions of lives are nothing more than pencil lines on paper. And the first ones to get hurt are always the minority groups, the smaller voices pushed into the dark. If you've been paying attention these past years, you've seen it plain as day. Every time Trump pushed harder on election reform, the folks holding power behind him tightened their grip one more notch. Some call it restructuring. Some say it's perfectly legal. But for the millions who suddenly have no real representation, they know they've been left behind right in front of everybody. The Bible talked about this a long, long time before anybody started redrawing district lines. In Amos 5:11-1-2 it says, "The strong trample the weak and the powerful crush the poor." That's not some fuzzy picture. It's exactly what we're watching. States wiping out majority black districts, splitting up Asian communities, shrinking the voice of immigrants. Justice isn't being handed out fairly anymore. It's weighed on the scale of whoever's holding the power right now. Then there's James 5:1-6, where the Bible calls out people who piling up wealth by hurting others. Sound familiar? When votes get twisted and districts get carved up to suit one group in charge, that's not just politics. That's real pain for millions of folks who've had their say taken away. Micah 3:11 paints a chilling picture too. Judges take bribes. Prophets speak for money. Feels like it was written for our time. When local judges look the other way at rigged maps, when lawmakers take donations to protect special interests, who's left standing up for regular people? That question ought to give all of us, believers or not, a cold chill. And have you noticed, every time the fight over these maps heats up, Trump shows up acting like he's the one taking back fairness. But here's the bitter irony. The harder he pushes this overhaul, the more lopsided the whole system gets. The real question isn't whether Trump is right or wrong. It's what in the world is happening to America when voting power no longer belongs to the people, but to a few lines drawn on a map. Deep down, this isn't just politics. It's a warning. When truth can be bought and sold, when justice can be cut and trimmed to fit the strong, when the weak have their voice erased from the page, those old Bible words start looking like a live broadcast of our own day. And that's when the final warning has to ring out loud and clear. When justice is up for sale, Judgment Day isn't far off. 7. The pressure from public opinion and accusations of racism, when open hatred is actually protected by the government. Nobody ever thought America, the symbol of freedom, would reach a point where insults become slogans and bigotry gets applause. But that's exactly what happened when some leaders under Trump called immigrants garbage, animals, and the scarier part is that millions of folks nodded right along with it. From social media to campaign rallies, contempt got turned into something normal, cheered on like human dignity doesn't matter anymore. If you've paid attention lately, you've noticed something that'll give you chills. Every time another hateful statement comes out, support goes up instead of down. The question isn't, why do they say that stuff anymore? It's, why are we okay with it? That right there shows the moral air of the country is shifting in a dangerous direction. The Bible nailed this spirit dead on. Romans 3:14 says, "Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness." Just watch the shouting matches on TV, the nasty posts online, or the crowds cheering when someone gets insulted. It feels like that verse was written for today. When words lose kindness, hearts start getting hard. Then, 2 Timothy 3:2 warns, "In the last days people will be proud and blasphemous," or abusive, depending on your translation. This isn't some far-off prediction anymore. It's what you and I are living through right now. The pride shows up when folks act like they're better than everybody else. The insults have become the new weapon that keeps us divided. And it didn't just happen. It's been fed from the top, where one leader's words can shape the soul of a whole nation. 2 Thessalonians 2-3 paints an even darker picture. Before the Lord returns, there will be a great falling away, and the man of sin will be revealed. Do you see it? When society cheers hate, when love is called weakness, when basic human kindness gets replaced by cruelty, that's the spirit of Antichrist. It doesn't have to show up as some horned devil. It shows up as an attitude, that's against everything Jesus taught about love. And the frightening thing is, that spirit picked up speed under Trump, like it was running on the fear, anger, and wounded pride of millions of people. Every controversial remark turned into a test to see how numb we've become. Sometimes you catch yourself wondering, where in the world are we headed? That uneasy, queasy feeling is exactly the warning sign the Bible talked about long ago. When insults are treated as strength, when racism becomes a political platform, when compassion is mocked as weakness, the conclusion is painfully clear. The spirit of Antichrist, the spirit that's against Christ and against love, is rising strong in our time. So, we've just gone through 7 standout news items about Trump's policies and laws that have sparked a lot of mixed reactions from many Americans in particular, and the whole world in general. When you piece all these bits together, you'll get a fuller picture of Trump, the man, and how he's linked to the end times. Some folks claim Trump is the Antichrist, but others believe he's the one God chose to anoint and to change all of America. What do you think he really is in that prophetic scene God set up thousands of years ago? Those 7 events, when lined up side by side, aren't just scattered pieces of a chaotic America anymore. They turn into a big picture, a kind of dark backdrop where everything happening echoes from thousands of years back. Do you notice that? When the signs stretch from borders, the legal system, the environment, refugee communities, right to the language of power, they merge into one single flow. America stepping into an era where prophecies are unfolding on their own. In that picture, we see an America stretched tight like a guitar string. Deportations, humanitarian crises, ecosystems on their last breath, the collapse of justice, the rise of hatred, all of it vibrating at the same frequency, the one the Bible talked about long ago. Maybe you feel it too. When so many things happen at once, it's not coincidence, it's a signal. The Bible hints at a familiar pattern. In the end times, there'll be big upheavals, divisive leaders, decisions that make the land groan, and insults becoming the norm. Matthew 24, Luke 21, 2 Timothy 3, Revelation 6 and 13, they all describe a scene a lot like what's going on now. Not just one verse, but dozens written for moments like this. So where does Trump fit in this picture? Many Bible scholars who interpret symbolically say figures who can shake up a big nation, cause deep divisions, and open a fierce power shift are often described in metaphors. The king who stirs trouble, the one the crowds cheer, or even the one who brings trials to reveal people's hearts. Maybe you haven't thought of it that way, but when you look close, a lot of Trump's traits match those images. In some mystical interpretation traditions, someone like Trump is described with metaphors from Daniel 8, a bold one, thick-skinned, expert at tough talk, or in 2 Thessalonians 2, about the one who trips up many, sparking a great falling away. This isn't an absolute claim that Trump is that figure, but an invitation to see the striking similarities between Bible descriptions and his actions today. What's even more telling, Trump doesn't just show up as an individual, but as a sign, a catalyst, exposing society's true nature. What happened under him, racial tensions, hardened speech, deep splits in beliefs and morals, feels like the Bible hitting right on the pulse it warned about long ago. Some of you might wonder, are we going too far with these connections? But try looking back at those 7 events. In them, we see cruelty made legal, mercy shut out, justice twisted, hateful language everywhere, the land groaning in despair, borders turning into fear, battlegrounds, and moral breakdown speeding up. This isn't separate incidents anymore. It's the overall mark of the last days. The Bible painted a time like this. Matthew 24:12. Lawlessness will increase, and the love of many will grow cold. Does that ring true for society today? Then 2 Timothy 3:1. In the last days perilous times will come. Perilous not just from disasters or wars, but from changes in people's very character. And finally, 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Before the day of the Lord comes, there will be a great falling away. Falling away isn't openly quitting religion. It's subtler, quitting mercy, quitting humanity, quitting light, and worshiping power, evil, pride. You see, that's happening right in front of us. When you pull those 7 events together, we don't just see America, but a prophecy unfolding itself. A warning written thousands of years ago, now ringing like a final trumpet. Because each event isn't just politics or society, it's a mirror reflecting the state of all humanity. And that state is heading fast toward darkness. If you ask, where are we in that spiritual timeline? The answer is, we're very close to the end of the road, not in a panic way, but a wake-up way. What you're seeing isn't random, not meaningless chaos. It's a reminder that history is reaching what the Bible calls the latter times. And Trump, with his influence, his divisiveness, and decisions shaping all of America, is just one of those signs making the picture clearer. Whether you love or hate him, you can't deny his appearance has exposed the deepest cracks of this era. In the end, those 7 events aren't just news. They're bells ringing, each one warning that the hour is near. The Bible said it, the world has experienced it, and we're living in the phase where prophecies are activating bit by bit. We're not just looking at America's chaos, but signs of the end times, where light and darkness draw their final lines before history turns the page. If you feel a chill realizing this, that's not random. That's a call, and you just heard it. These 7 events that just happened aren't far-off stories anymore, and they're definitely not those vague signs in the Bible that folks love to argue about. They've stepped right off the pages and into real life. They're happening right in front of us. If your heart tightens a little when you realize that, you're hearing the exact beat of the time we're living in, the same beat the Bible talked about thousands of years ago. We can't brush this off any longer. This is the moment the church has to wake up, not out of fear, but with the wisdom that comes from the Holy Spirit. This is the time for every one of us to pray more, pray deeper, pray for real, because prayer is the very breath of God's people in these last days. Don't you agree we've been asleep way too long? In a world that's being turned upside down, there's only one place to put our trust: in Jesus. When we keep our eyes on Him, every storm just makes our faith stronger. This is also the time for the church to stand up, to take in and pass on messages that are good, healing, and encouraging, so the darkness can't swallow the light. Light only goes out when the people carrying it give up. As long as we stand firm, the darkness has to back off. God is calling us to live holy lives, not to be perfect, but to be salt and light in a world that's completely lost its way. Every act of love you show right now is worth more than pure gold, because it pushes back against the spirit of this age, the spirit of hard hearts and not caring anymore. And you know what? Sometimes one small kindness is enough to stop evil from growing bigger. But there's something even more urgent: telling people the good news. Jesus himself said in Matthew chapter 9, verses 37 and 38, "The harvest is huge, but there are only a few workers." And quote, if you feel that tug today to tell someone about the Lord, don't wait. This isn't the time to hold back. It's the time to go, to speak, to help pull people out of the darkness while they still can be reached. And right in the middle of all this urgency, the Lord left us one beautiful promise. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord will get new strength. They'll rise up with wings like eagles." And Revelation 22, verse 20, "Yes, I am coming soon." These aren't empty, comforting words. This is a powerful promise from the one who is faithful and true. When He says He's coming, you can count on it. He's coming. So if your heart is stirred right now, drop a simple prayer in the comments. Amen. Come, Lord Jesus. It's not just words. It's your soul answering the call of your Savior. And finally, if you want these messages from God's Word to keep reaching more people, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Every little thing you do helps someone else hear the good news in these last days. The Lord is near. Stay awake. Stand strong. Keep shining.
Death toll in Gaza is still climbing. Since the start of the ceasefire on October 10th, more than 3
moves in another critical point. And if so, how soon could they do it and how long could they do it for?
Possible.
لعنتی.
Millions of Americans in need, long lines for food across this nation, hundreds of cars waiting this morning. These images from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we've
of the North-South Railway have yet to yield tangible results as several sections in these
2025 isn't just another year anymore. It feels like one long, global emergency alert that never ends. In less than 12 months, the world has been hit with one shock after another. So many that international agencies keep hitting the big red warning button. Wars flaring up, economies shaking, weather going completely haywire. Everything's happening so fast, folks can hardly catch their breath. And right in the middle of all this, those old Bible prophecies are starting to look scary accurate. Revelation, Matthew, Luke, they all talked about a time when the earth would be torn apart by wars, natural disasters, plagues, and strange signs in nature. Before, we just called them religious stories, but 2025 has turned them into breaking news that updates every hour. What really gives you chills isn't the prophecies themselves, it's how fast real events are lining up exactly the way the Bible described. Almost like an unseen hand is pushing mankind closer to the edge. By the time we hit December, 7 big signs keep popping up one after another. Israel and Iran are this close to all-out war. Gaza is still a mess even with ceasefires. Iran is threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the world's main oil lifeline. Tehran is running out of water. Inflation is taking off everywhere. The World Meteorological Organization says 2025 is on track to be one of the hottest years ever recorded. And massive flash floods are slamming Southeast Asia, with Vietnam getting hit hard. These things aren't random anymore. They're connecting like pieces of a puzzle, pointing to a level of chaos we've never seen. Today's video is going to pull all these events together so you can see the whole picture clearly and understand that humanity's time is running short. While news channels race to keep up with stories that aren't even cold yet, every one of us is getting the same message, loud and clear. Are we walking straight into the days the Lord warned us about? So please don't brush off any of these signs. They might be exactly what helps wake you up right now. There truly isn't much time left. And now, are you ready to come with me and look at the path the world is on as it heads toward one huge, special event, the last days? 1. Israel-Iran tensions explode into open war. The prophecy about wars is coming true. In 2025, the Middle East didn't just heat up, it went up in flames. The fight between Israel and Iran that had been simmering under the surface for over 40 years finally blew wide open. According to reports from the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, a 12-day war broke out on June 2025 when Israel launched airstrikes and drones straight at Iran's nuclear sites and missile factories. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was the first shot of a whole new era. Iran International says the IRGC claimed Israel suffered a decisive defeat and threatened that any more provocation would bring a response like nothing ever seen before. Meanwhile, Amnesty International put out an urgent warning on June 18th, right after Israel announced the attacks that started on June 13th. They were afraid regular folks would be the next ones caught in this spiral of violence. The whole region felt like it was standing on the edge of a cliff. But the danger didn't stop there. CNN reported that President Trump accepted Putin's offer of help, a move that made a lot of experts shiver when the big powers started shifting around the battle lines. War on the Rock said those 12 days showed Iran's tech weaknesses, but it also pushed the Middle East right up to the red line, where one wrong step could set off a full-scale regional war. Iranian nuclear scientists were targeted, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, pouring more gas on an already roaring fire. Oil prices shot through the roof. Refugees started pouring across borders again. Armed groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis began moving their forces, The shadow of war spread from the Red Sea to the Persian Gulf, like a net slowly tightening around the world. And in the middle of all that chaos, people couldn't help looking at an old familiar warning that suddenly felt scarier than ever. Matthew 24 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom." This isn't some far-off story from 2,000 years ago anymore. It's playing out hour by hour. Israel, God's chosen people, is now right in the center of one of the clearest signs Jesus ever talked about. Those rumors of wars have turned into real explosions. A lot of Bible scholars have long said the Middle East is the world's prophetic clock, and this explosion might be the second hand, starting to move toward the final pages. Zechariah 12 talks about the day when the nations surround Jerusalem, and 2025 is making that picture a whole lot less fuzzy. According to ISW, Iran and some of America's other adversaries are getting ready for joint military exercises in December 2025. Another piece in a domino chain that could bring the whole world order crashing down. If that happens, we'll all be looking at a storm with no end in sight. In the light of faith, like Matthew 24 verse 8 says, all these are only the beginning of birth pains. And if this is just the beginning, we have to ask ourselves, how much time does humanity have left? 2. Gaza is full of uncertainty right now. There's supposed to be a ceasefire, but it still feels like everything could blow up again any minute. The destruction of Jerusalem that the Bible talks about seems closer than ever. The ceasefire that started in October 2025 was supposed to be the light at the end of the tunnel. But Al Jazeera says Israel broke it almost every single day in the first week alone. At least 339 Palestinians were killed, including women and children. Those cold numbers aren't just statistics. They're the heartbeat of a place sinking deeper into a cycle of violence it can't escape. The United Nations quickly put out an urgent statement, saying there were 393 violations by Israel since October 11th, the day the deal was announced. Instead of silence, Gaza keeps hearing small but constant explosions. ACLED says low-level fighting never really stopped, like a thin line of fire that just won't go out. It feels like the ceasefire only exists on paper, while in real life, it's falling apart day by day. In the middle of all this, the warning in Luke 21 verse 20 sounds almost spooky. When you see armies surrounding Jerusalem, know that its desolation is near. Gaza sits right on the edge of Jerusalem, and it's turning into the exact stage that verse describes. The sieges, the violations, the houses collapsing, it all feels like an old prophecy coming true, right on time. Politico says the first phase of the ceasefire is about to run out, while Israel keeps handing back Palestinian bodies. At the same time, the West Bank is burning with 264 settler attacks in October alone, the highest number ever, according to OCHA. The picture is clear. The conflict isn't staying in Gaza anymore. It's spreading across the whole area, like cracks running through glass that's already stretched too tight. China Daily Asia reports that Hamas has been forced to release hostages and bodies as part of the deal, but airstrikes still happen, making everything even more tangled. Progressive.org described 6 Palestinians killed just days after the agreement and called the ceasefire so fragile you can barely breathe. Every new report feels like another shake of the ground. Something bigger is building up. In the middle of all these numbers, Zechariah 12 verses 2 and 3 seem to echo in people's hearts. I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. All the nations of the earth will gather against it. Gaza is only a few dozen miles from Jerusalem, and the way it keeps burning makes that prophecy feel like it's happening right now. Not some old story from long ago. It's a reminder that when the Holy Land has no peace, the whole world gets pulled into the storm sooner or later. Unispal says October 2025 marked exactly 2 years of the Gaza war, yet real peace still feels out of reach. The Middle East Council points out the huge difference in deaths on each side and says things aren't moving toward reconciliation, they're sliding into a new, even more dangerous spiral. From oil prices to migration to regional security, everything is getting hit by the ripple effects of these days of ceasefire, but no real cease in fighting. Looking at the big picture, what's happening in Gaza isn't just politics. It's a sign. It's a wake-up call. It's proof that the things the Bible described, trouble among the nations and desolation drawing near, are coming faster than most folks expected. If this is only the beginning, then what's ahead might be the next chapter of the last days, where the Lord warned that these are the beginning of birth pains, and the world, whether we like it or not, is walking right into it one day at a time. 3. Iran threatens to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. The world's oil lifeline is in danger. Global trade could collapse completely. Just when we're still trying to wrap our heads around those first two events, the world gets hit with another bombshell. And this one goes straight for the jugular of the global economy. You and I both know that when gas jumps a few bucks, life already feels upside down. Now imagine the whole planet's oil supply suddenly on the chopping block. What's happening in the Middle East in 2025 is way bigger than just another market swing. According to The Guardian, after the US struck Iran's nuclear sites, Tehran put a plan on the table to mine and block the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway that carries 20% of the world's oil. They haven't done it yet, but just flipping the threat switch has the entire energy market holding its breath. Pull up a map and you'll see. Close that one narrow spot and the whole world feels it. The Atlantic Council says this is Iran's way of hitting back at American pressure, and it could mess up global trade on a massive scale. Iran's parliament even approved the blockade idea back in June, according to CNBC, enough to put investors in full waiting for the bomb to drop mode. The scary part isn't that they'll do it tomorrow, it's that they're fully ready to do it anytime they decide. It's an open fuse, sitting right on the most important oil highway on Earth. The International Crisis Group points out that Iran has made this threat plenty of times before and never followed through. But 2025 is the riskiest year in a decade. The BBC warns the fallout would be huge. Oil prices shooting through the roof, shipping costs going crazy, and inflation kicking off like dominoes falling. ISW says that by October, Iran was still using the blockade threat to push back against U.S. oil sanctions. CBS News noted that oil prices dipped a little because the market thinks Iran is just bluffing. But the real danger is still hanging in the air. And if you scroll through YouTube, you'll see clip after clip of people staring at the Strait of Hormuz ever since the U.S. strike on June 22nd. At this point, if everything feels like it's hanging by a thread, you're not wrong. One little strait could drag the global economy backward for years, trigger recessions, energy crises, and hurt billions of everyday people. It lays bare a hard truth. The system we thought was rock solid is actually fragile as a dusty pane of glass. And that fragility echoes something awfully familiar from Scripture. Revelation 18:11 says, "The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore." It's talking about the fall of Babylon, the symbol of the Bible uses for the world's fake, shiny system of money and trade. When Hormuz, the pipeline that feeds oil to the whole planet, sits one decision away from shutting down, that picture suddenly feels very real. And do you see it now? These events aren't just politics or economics anymore. There are quiet reminders that the last days won't always come with fire and explosions. Sometimes they come as a slow shake of the things we trusted too much. When one country can make the whole world economy tremble with nothing more than a threat, we're watching the cracks start to show in Babylon's foundation. Every shake like this is God's gentle nudge to wake up and remember what actually lasts in a world this breakable. 4. Fresh water is getting harder and harder to find, and Tehran is now facing a very serious water crisis. Not every disaster comes with explosions or military threats. Sometimes the most dangerous warning creeps up quietly right under our feet when the most basic thing a city needs to survive starts disappearing day by day. That's exactly what's happening in Tehran right now, where 9 million people are staring at something nobody ever thought possible: the drinking water. is about to run out. CNN reported that Tehran's main reservoirs are down to just 11% of capacity, the lowest level ever recorded, according to the head of the Tehran Provincial Water Company. The CSIS think tank looked at satellite pictures and said the water is dropping so fast it's beating even the worst crop season forecasts. Forbes even asked straight out, could day zero, the day the city has no water left, be the spark that sets off a new wave of protests? When your reservoirs are down to single digits, you're standing on the edge. The Guardian said the reservoirs around Mashhad are under 3% now. So this isn't just Tehran, it's the whole country. The Washington Institute pointed out that 5 big reservoirs near Tehran are at 10% or less, and 19 others have fallen below 5%. The BBC used satellite images too and confirmed the water has dropped sharply in the last 12 months. Carnegie warned that other countries should treat this as a real-life lesson, because at one point, Tehran itself was down to only 5% of its total storage. Researcher Juan Cole said, fall 2025 has been the hottest and driest season in Iran since 1979, while the Jerusalem Post blamed corruption and bad management more than the weather. With millions of people depending on water that's vanishing before their eyes, the human crisis is getting very real. No water, daily life falling apart, sickness spreading, and the chance that one bad night could light the fuse on major unrest. And when unrest spreads in Iran, a key country in the Middle East, the shockwaves can reach the whole region. When we look at this picture, it's easy to say it's just climate change or poor planning. But the Bible showed us this same scene thousands of years ago. Revelation 16:12 says, "The great river Euphrates, its water was dried up," a prophecy about severe drought that lets the armies of the East gather from the East, setting the stage for the final events of history. The Euphrates is right next to Iran, and seeing the water dry up in that part of the world makes those words feel closer than ever. I'm not saying everything that happens is supernatural, but it's hard to ignore the timing. A major city facing day zero, rivers and reservoirs across the Middle East going dry, a crisis that could bring unrest and chaos. It all lines up pretty closely with what Revelation described. It reminds us that the last days may not only come with wars, but with the quiet breakdown of the basic things we need to live: water, food, life itself. This whole situation makes me believe the world has entered a time when nature, politics, and biblical prophecy are lining up in a way that's worth paying attention to. And maybe, instead of just watching from far away, we ought to wake up and notice the signs that are getting clearer every day. Because every big change starts with small cracks that slowly dry up. 5. Inflation and global economic instability. Some changes come real slow and quiet, no big bangs like wars or nuclear threats, but they still sneak into every meal, every bill, every heartbeat of families all over the world. 2025 feels like one of those years. The whole global economy is standing on thin ice, and one little shake could send everything crashing down. The World Bank says commodity prices should drop about 7% between 2025 and 2026 because there's too much oil around, even though geopolitics can still mess things up bad. S&P Global noticed that cheaper oil has given a quick boost to demand in emerging markets, but it's shaky and short-lived. The EIA reported Brent crude slid from $75 a barrel in April down to just $64 in June, a clear sign the energy market is still jumpy as heck. JP Morgan thinks Brent will hang around $66 in 2025 and then fall to $58 in 2026. The IMF said oil already dropped 5.4% from March to August. But it's not all good news. ALM is warning that oil prices could spike out of nowhere and kick off another round of inflation. Morgan Stanley sees global growth slowing because demand is weak. The IEA just cut its oil demand growth forecast by another 300,000 barrels a day, showing the market is seriously out of whack. MAPFRE listed 9 big economic risks for 2025. Everything from inflation that won't cool off fast enough, messy geopolitics, to crazy labor markets. The European Union is only expecting about 1.1% GDP growth in 2025, and that weakness is spreading from Europe to America to Asia and the emerging markets. All these numbers aren't just cold statistics. They're hitting grocery prices, living costs, supply chains, giving folks that uneasy feeling a lot of people call hard times. No country gets to sit this one out. Inflation and instability have become the new normal heartbeat of the world. And right in the middle of this picture, does it remind you of something warned about thousands of years ago? James 5:1 says, "Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you." That verse isn't just calling out proud rich folks. It's describing a time when even the strongest economic foundations turn to dust. Looking at 2025, the similarity hits me hard. The world is swaying under forces no single nation can fully control. Giant corporations, huge markets, everything's trembling before things way bigger than us. It feels like the Bible is reminding us that gold, silver, or oil won't keep the world steady. Only staying awake and humble in tough times will. This isn't just about oil prices and inflation anymore. It's a wake-up call that the last days might not only come through earthquakes or wars, but through the collapse of economic systems we once thought were unbreakable. And maybe, just maybe, we ought to see these shakes as an invitation. Stay sharp, get ready, and above all, don't put all our trust in things that can vanish overnight. 6. The temperature in 2025 is being called the hottest year in history. Could this be the heat of a purifying fire? 2025 has been described by experts as a year full of upheaval, sudden, unforgiving, with temperatures rising like they're trying to send us a message we can't ignore anymore. According to the World Meteorological Organization, 25 is expected to be the second or third hottest year in the past 176 years. The average temperature from January through August was already about 2.56 degrees Fahrenheit higher than in pre-industrial times, a jump big enough to mess with ecosystems and push people to their limits. The UK's Met Office says there's a good chance 2025 will end up in the top 3 hottest years ever, and Earth.org points out that the last 11 years have all been among the warmest on record. The State of the Climate update talks about an unbroken string of unusually hot months like we've never seen before. Carbon Brief says January 2025 was the hottest January ever, and March through May were the second hottest on record. The WMO figures there's an 80% chance that sometime between 2025 and 2029 will beat the record set in 2024. Both the Barcelona Supercomputing Center and the WMO agree 2025 is on track to be the second hottest year worldwide. Al Jazeera calls 2023 through 2025 the 3 hottest years humans have ever lived through. And Producer.com says that even with 2 months still to go, 2025 is pretty much locked into the top 3. This heat isn't just numbers on a report, it's bringing real trouble. Droughts, wildfires, crop failures, water shortages, and extreme weather hitting one after another. No matter how advanced we think we are, we can't escape nature when it's this upset. A lot of scientists and regular folks are calling it a warning. Nature is trying to tell us we're about to cross a line we can't come back from. The Bible describes something that sounds a lot like what we're seeing now. Do you remember? Romans 8:22 says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time." That groaning isn't just a figure of speech anymore. From warming oceans to melting ice sheets, from the crack-dry Amazon to the burning Middle East, everything seems to be crying out together. Looking at what's happening in 2025, I feel very clearly that this isn't only about climate or industry. It's showing us something deeper. Mankind has stepped over the boundaries the Creator set for this earth, and now nature is bending under the weight of our greed, selfishness, and carelessness. It's a loud wake-up call that the world is getting closer to what the Bible calls the birth pains before the end. And the simple question left for each of us is this: Are we still listening to the earth's groaning? Or have we gotten so used to it that we just treat it as normal life? 7. Floods and natural disasters keep slamming Southeast Asia. Just like the Bible said the ground would shake. Nobody ever thought that in just one single year, Southeast Asia would turn into the center of one horrible disaster after another. The years 2024 and 2025 have been called by big news outlets the never-ending disaster season. Floods, landslides, and typhoons hit one after another, leaving damage that many countries can't even imagine. Wikipedia says 85 people died in northern Vietnam and 66 lost their lives in central Vietnam after Typhoon Kalmaegi. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Reuters reported almost 800 dead in all, 604 inches Indonesia, and 176 inches Thailand. A long string of heartbreak with no end in sight. Al Jazeera added that tropical storms in the region took at least 1,250 lives in just a few monsoon waves. Meanwhile, CNN said more than 1,100 people died in a single week, numbers that shocked the whole world as they kept ticking up on TV. In November, the CDP described a sea of water covering Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, forcing hundreds of thousands of folks to evacuate. Facebook posts from regular Vietnamese people showed tens of thousands of homes deep underwater, like whole lowland areas had been wiped off the map. Geopolitical Monitor warned that this year's flooding in Vietnam raises big questions about how well we can adapt to climate change, since roads and buildings were swept away in just hours. The Associated Press kept updating the death toll in Vietnam and Thailand. Floodwaters hadn't even gone down yet when landslides came crashing in. In 2025, according to Ever Magachi, Vietnam got hit by 20 typhoons, something almost unheard of in weather history. Disasters coming this fast and hard made a lot of experts admit this isn't ordinary climate change anymore. It's a chain of wild events that no forecast model saw coming. The money lost is guessed to be tens of billions of dollars, and more people are packing up and leaving because of the climate. The whole region feels like it's being shaken, not just the land, but people's hearts too. Folks are starting to ask, why has nature suddenly turned so angry? To many, these things don't look like just environmental problems anymore. They feel like warning bells from the universe itself. And that's exactly what the Bible talked about long ago. Matthew 24:7 says plainly, "There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Those words aren't dusty old lines anymore. They're jumping off the page and happening right in front of us. These repeated disasters aren't just bad luck. They're the earth groaning, warning us that the final pains of the end times are coming. What's happening in Southeast Asia isn't only climate trouble. It's a loud reminder that the world has entered a time when every nation and every person has to face the truth. Nature is crying out, and according to the Bible, that cry means the moment of great change is closer than it's ever been. We've just gone through 7 major events in 2025 that many believers and prophets keep pointing to and saying, this isn't random anymore. So what happens when we put all these events together and look at the big picture? Come on with me for a minute. Let's walk through how tightly and clearly they line up with what the Bible warned about a long time ago. When you connect all 7 signs of 2025, they're not just random pieces anymore. They form one big picture that covers the whole world. A picture full of chaos, tension, and things repeating exactly what the Bible said would happen thousands of years ago. Almost to the point of giving you chills. No part of the world is sitting this out. No country gets a free pass. Everything is moving the same direction, toward that final period people have been warned about since the days of our earliest fathers. The Israel-Iran tension isn't just talk or prediction anymore. It's right here, happening now. The shadow attacks that used to stay hidden are now out in broad daylight, turning the Middle East into an open battlefield where one wrong step could light the fuse for a full-blown regional war. Israel and Iran have never been this close to the edge. Every airstrike, Every threat feels like the rumble before a major earthquake in world affairs. In the book of Daniel, chapter 12, it talks about a time of trouble such as never has been since there was a nation till that time. That feeling that everything is stretched tight as a bowstring and one little twitch could set the whole place off, that's exactly the echo of that old prophecy. The whole Middle East is standing in front of a door that, once it opens, will never close the same way again. Gaza is the second clear proof of all this mess. People hoped the ceasefire would bring some calm and breathing room, but instead, things keep heating up. Attacks on top of attacks, innocent folks keep getting hurt or killed, and the whole strip feels like a powder keg with a hole already punched in it, just waiting for the last spark. What's happening in Gaza isn't just about one narrow piece of land. It's sending shockwaves through oil supplies, shipping lanes, and migration all over the world. Go back to the Old Testament. Isaiah 17 verse 1 talks about cities in that region ending up in ruins. That picture doesn't feel like some dusty old forecast anymore. It feels like it's playing out bit by bit right in front of us. Like history isn't going backward, but the prophecy is catching up to today. The third sign makes the picture even darker. Iran threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, the lifeline that carries almost 1/5 of the world's oil. One threat like that could throw the whole global economy into a tailspin. A single wrong word at the wrong moment, and oil prices shoot through the roof, inflation goes wild, recession hits, and the ripple effects are anybody's guess. The world has never felt this fragile over one little waterway between two deserts. Revelation 6 verse 6 warns about a time when a quart of wheat costs a day's wages, and don't damage the oil and the wine. Sky-high food and goods, economic upheaval. It's never felt this close to everyday life. One threat to shut that strait, and the whole world shakes like it's about to step into an economic end of the world spiral. Then there's Iran itself. The fourth sign, a terrible water crisis hitting Tehran. Their main reservoir dropped from nearly 86 million cubic meters to 14 million in just 1 year. Numbers that make you stop and stare. A capital city of 10 million people could soon face serious water shortages, leading to unrest, protests, maybe even the collapse of society as they know it. Climate is only the surface. Underneath is a government cracking under pressure from every side. In the prophets, Jeremiah 14 talks about the ground cracked because there is no rain. The farmers are ashamed and cover their heads. Words written centuries ago suddenly feel alive when you look at Tehran today, a big modern city running dry in the middle of the 21st century. The fifth sign, inflation and economic trouble all over the world. This isn't just the usual ups and downs anymore. It's a domino effect from wars, energy crises, broken supply chains, and living costs going through the roof like never before. People in country after country are cutting back on food and basics, and the whole world economy is sliding along in a wave of worry. James 5 verse 1 says, "Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you." The picture of wealth collapsing and financial systems that seemed rock solid turning shaky. That's the long shadow of that warning. The sixth sign is bigger than the rest. Global warming. 2025 is expected to be the second or third hottest year ever recorded. Temperatures climbing fast, natural disasters coming thicker, harder, and stranger than ever. Wildfires, droughts, superstorms, killer heat waves. Nature is groaning like it can't carry the weight of what we've done anymore. Romans 8:22. We know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. Nature doesn't talk, but it's shouting through droughts, storms, and record heat, groans we've pretended not to hear for decades. And the seventh and final sign, historic floods and disasters across Southeast Asia, puts the finishing touch on the picture. Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, all taking heavy losses in lives and property. Storms, rain, landslides, coming so often they're not unusual anymore. They're the new normal. The whole region feels like it's being hosed down to wake up a sleeping world. Matthew 24, verse 7. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. What Southeast Asia is going through is just one piece of the worldwide map of pain the Bible drew more than 2,000 years ago. When you step back and look at all 7 signs together, one thing is clear. They're not scattered, separate, or accidental. They line up in one straight line, one arrow pointing to the future the Bible calls the last days. Just like in Noah's time, when people kept eating, drinking, marrying, living like nothing was going to change, and then the flood came out of nowhere. Jesus said in Matthew 24:37 that the end would come just like the days of Noah. Today, we're in the same spot. The world keeps turning like everything's fine. But these 7 signs are piling up like water rising before the great flood. Nobody knows the day or the hour, but the signs are getting clearer, coming faster, sounding more urgent. And the picture of 2025 shows something nobody can deny. Mankind is moving very quickly toward the door of the final period, not by feelings or guesses, but by the plain facts happening right in front of our eyes. Every event, every disaster, every conflict is like the last puzzle pieces of prophecy clicking perfectly into place. Even though the world feels like it's spinning out of control right now, these 7 signs we're seeing in 2025 aren't just headlines. They're wake-up calls straight out of the spiritual history written in the Bible. From the wars in the Middle East and all the threats to peace, to the one natural disaster after another hitting Southeast Asia, every single event feels like a bold brushstroke, painting the exact picture of the last days the Bible said would come before the end. These things aren't here to scare us half to death. They're here to wake us up and remind us that Bible prophecy isn't some old fairy tale. It's happening right in front of our eyes today. In the middle of all the chaos of 2025, faith isn't some fancy extra anymore. It's the anchor that keeps us from drifting away. When everything around us is shaking, the only thing that doesn't move is God's word. It's solid as a rock. Like Jesus himself said, Luke 21:28, when these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. That's not some vague wish. That's a light shining right through the storm, letting us know every hard thing is just one more step, bringing us closer to the day he makes everything right. But faith isn't something we just keep locked away in our hearts. Real faith gets up and does something. A hand reaching out to help, a prayer lifted up for folks who are hurting, a kind word or a little money shared with somebody who's got nothing left. When we help people caught in wars or disasters, when we take care of this earth God gave us, when we tell somebody who doesn't know him yet about Jesus, that's how we get ready for the day he comes back. Those little acts, one by one, turn us into the light in the dark and the salt in a world that's losing its flavor. And because these days are so serious, I'm asking you right now to quiet your heart for a minute and type a short prayer down in the comments. Pray for the folks who are suffering, for families that have lost everything, for people feeling hopeless in the middle of the wreckage. And pray for ourselves too, that God will hold us steady, guide us, and keep our faith strong when all these signs are swirling around us. Every prayer you write might just be the little spark that touches another heart, because sometimes a quiet prayer lifted to heaven is louder than all the noise down here. If this matters to you, please hit that like button to show your support. Share this so the warning and the hope can spread further, and subscribe so you don't miss the next videos about these end-time signs. Every like, share, and subscription helps this message reach more people. People who need to wake up, need some strength, and need to hear about the forever hope we have in Jesus Christ. Stand strong. Look up. These last days aren't for being afraid. They're for getting ready, staying alert, and trusting Him.
You may have seen that dramatic video of hundreds of birds literally falling from the sky into a neighborhood.
Yes, I'm filming! Wow!
Do you feel like the air's gotten heavier lately? Like your sleep's more restless? and things that couldn't possibly happen keep happening anyway. If you've ever felt a chill looking at strange shapes in the sky, hearing weird noises coming from deep in the ground, or seeing stuff that feels like it jumped straight out of the Bible, you're not alone.